Welcome to a new video. We're going to assess real world image quality from the Sigma 150 to 600 f5 to 6.3 contemporary DG lens, and I want to address real world examples so you guys can get an idea of image quality. Now, I have been putting this lens head to head against the Tamron 150 to 600 G2 lens. I have been finding that lens quite a letdown on autofocus performance when it comes to mirrorless cameras, such as the EOS R that I have, and I suspect it would apply to the EOS R6 and R5 as well. Basically, Tamron's come out with an update to make that lens compatible with mirrorless cameras, but I do believe it's a half-hearted attempt to make it compatible. Sigma seems to have reverse engineered the mirrorless cameras better because autofocus is a lot quicker. I would say it's 2 times quicker. When it comes to your normal digital SLR, such as your 5D Mark IIIs and 4s and 7Ds and 90Ds, I don't think you're going to tell much of a difference in autofocus performance. So without further ado, I want to address image quality. So let's have a look at an image. So here we have a duck model that I've got, and this is the separation that we're getting with the bokeh. This is a f8 at 600mm on the Sigma lens, and as you can see, we're getting good detail. And if we zoom in there at 100%, we can see it's rendering good detail. Obviously it's not tack sharp, you can see that, and it's not going to compete with the Canon primes. However, we are getting good detail, and I do think you would be more than happy with this lens. In my opinion, I think it's a tiny bit, just a tad, tiny bit sharper than the Tamron G2 lens. Despite what other YouTubers have been saying online, I think the Sigma lens is a tad bit sharper. So let's have a look at another image. So here we have a bird on one of my gnome models in my garden, and clearly it's rendering good results. So let's just zoom in there a little bit. So at 50% there at 600mm, it's rendering good quality, but let's zoom in a bit more. Now when I zoomed in this much on the Tamron, there appear to be a bit of softness. I'm not seeing the same softness here on the Sigma. Now, as I've said before in the other video I did, check that out because I did show you some real world examples of the Tamron lens. The Sigma lens holds up better when you crop in heavily. I would always recommend that you don't crop in as much because these lenses are not designed for cropping in. That's why they're super zooms. You zoom in to get the crop that you want. You're not really going to use these lenses after the fact because that defeats the point of being a reasonably good photographer, being able to capture the images that you want in the field rather than doing it in post. So let's have a look at another image, but I do think it's giving us good quality there. Remember, all these images are captured on the EOS R full frame mirrorless camera that I've got at 30 megapixels. These are JPEGs if you're wondering, and so was the Tamron ones. So let's have a look at the next image, which is the brick boulder. Now, this is a bit different to the Tamron because I want to zoom in here and show you a little bit of detail here. Now, as you can see, we've nailed focus there. Now, if you check out the Tamron video that I made, I'll put a link in the description box if you want to look at it. But I found that it missed focus and it was a bit off. And I felt that it was -1 off in terms of needed to be calibrated. But the Sigma here is bang on. So that's great, that's fantastic. That's what we want. A lens to, out of the box to be perfect. If you're wondering, I did look to see if there were any updates available on both lenses, and they were fully updated. So, looking at focus capabilities of the Sigma Contemporary, it's nailed focus, so it's already superior to the Tamron in my view in terms of nailing focus. So feel free to check out that Tamron video that I've done, guys. You'll see that in the photograph. So let's move on to the next image. Okay, so we've got some ducks here. Did a similar shot on the Tamron, so I'll give you a good comparison. Let's have a look in there. We can get in some really good detail at 66% there. You know, for those of you who want to see the pixel peeping, there you go. It looks quite sharp to me, just as good as the Tamron in sharpness. I think you're rendering a tiny bit more fine detail with the Sigma. So to be honest with you, I am preferring the Sigma over the Tamron. That's my personal preference. Even though it's not as well weather sealed, I think I can live with that, and I think I'm getting better results. And ultimately, sharpness is what counts. Weather sealing, yeah, sure, it helps, but you can always get another lens if you want to. You know, this is only £780, this lens, where the Tamron was £1,060. So there is a bit of a price difference, but I am liking the Sigma Contemporary better. So next image. So here we've got the bear again. So let's zoom into the left eye, it's where we're focused at, to see the detail that we're getting. I like to go in there 100%. When it comes to detail here, I did another video previously where I felt the Tamron was better, but I decided to redo the test, and maybe my focusing was off slightly, and here we can clearly see that the Sigma lens has nailed focus. There's a lot of detail there, and I'd say it's equal to the Tamron here, where I felt the Tamron had actually beaten the Sigma, and I was wrong. I'll freely admit that. Sometimes even us YouTube reviewers make mistakes, and I've made a mistake there where I clearly did not focus it properly. So looking at that image, I think it's on par with the Tamron for definite, if not identical, in this particular circumstance. But we'll get on to sharpness in a moment. So let's have a look at another image. The majority of these images are at 600mm at f8, if you're wondering. Okay, I had a similar image on the Tamron video that I did. Please do watch that, because it will be informative if you're interested in the Tamron. Literally, it's producing the same results as the Tamron is here, where at f6.3 we're getting a bit of a onion ring shape of bokeh with the Christmas lights here. It's a Christmas tree, you see, with Christmas lights in the background, and we're focused on the bottle here, and as you can see, we're getting that sort of onion effect here, misshaped onion. When we stopped it down to f8, however, it went back to a circle, just the same as the Tamron, pretty much identical. And I wanted to have a look at the fine detail in the pattern, as I was talking about in the Tamron video, where if you can zoom in right into the text here, and you can see a pattern in the actual print, you know you're getting fine detail, and this lens can give you sharp images. And I'd say it's pretty much similar to what the Tamron is. I'll have to do a side-by-side video to say which is the better, but just looking at the Sigma results, it's fantastic. I love it. You know, it's more than sharp enough for anyone, I think. It's only us photographers that are really picking at certain little things. So, you know, I would certainly recommend this lens, certainly. Let's have a look at another image. Okay, here we have the Starship Enterprise. We've got Christmas lights on a Christmas tree in the background. You've seen the bokeh effect there. So make up your own mind whether you like it or not. I think it's really nice, actually. And if we zoom in to the Starship, I did a similar video about 5 years ago where I reviewed the Sigma Contemporary, the Tamron G1 and the Sigma Sport, where I did similar tests. So you want to check those older videos out if you're interested in the sport lens. But we're rendering at excellent detail at 100% there. at 600mm. Just remember, you're going to compress the background a lot with these telephoto lenses, which means you will isolate your subject dramatically. If you don't like that, you're going to have to choose a different lens. But 600mm, we're getting good sharpness there. There is probably only, in terms of focus, only maybe 1 centimetre there worth of focus. So remember, when you're using these huge telephoto lenses, your focus is going to plane is going to be very small. So you need to be very, very careful with your focus. And if sometimes the autofocus struggles because of that, you'll have to switch to manual focus and do it yourself. Because sometimes even the best primes costing £12,000 out there will struggle with this. So just remember that, guys. Let's have a look at another image. Sorry. So here we have another test to test depth of field. In the other video where I talked about the Tamron, where I felt that you had to stop it down more so than the Sigma lens, I was actually incorrect there. It would appear they're pretty much even Stevens when it comes to depth of field at f8 versus f16. So obviously we've got good detail here. I just want to zoom in here where you can see the paint here, literally 100%. It's rendering fantastic detail of that paint. You can see how well that is rendering there, and I think even you will probably conclude that that's rendering fantastic image quality. Going there at 200%, it sort of falls off a little bit when we do 200%, but that's to be expected with these extreme focal ranges we're using at 600mm. Let's just go back to full screen. So I just want to show you the difference in depth of field. This is f8 and that's f16. So it's rendering good results, the Sigma lens, and I'm really struggling to separate the two lenses apart when it comes to image quality. In some of the bottle images I'm going to show you, I think it'd be more definitive, and I'm thinking that the Sigma is probably 1% better than the Tamron, and that is so small of a margin, it's unbelievable. So if you bought the Tamron, don't be disappointed, guys, because you'll have a fantastic lens if you're using it on one of your digital SLRs. Just remember, if you're expecting fast autofocus on mirrorless cameras, think again, because it's a letdown there. But let's move on. So here we have the 7D Mark II. I took an image of it. I wanted to see how sharp an image I can get compared to the Tamron. In terms of having a good background, it looks okay. But I wanted to zoom into the Canon text here just to see the results really, and see how sharp we get at 100%. It's looking fantastic, you know, really good results. And I think anyone with any of these lenses will be really happy with the results. So let's move on to the next image, but just to tell you guys, the sharpness you're getting out of this lens is uniquely great. One thing I will say about the Sigma lenses versus the Tamrons, I do think Sigma has nailed with their global vision lenses manufacture of their quality control is a lot better than, in my opinion, than Tamron's is, because I have heard stories of decentered lenses where it's sharper on one side than it is on the other. I don't see that as an issue with the Sigma lenses. So I think when it comes to quality control, Sigma have got Tamron beat there. So let's have a look at another image. So let's just fit that to screen, because what I wanted to do is give you an idea of the differences between f6.3 and f8 on full frame. Just so you know, guys, I want to impress on APS-C. 6.3 was really good. When I started stopping the lenses down, both on the Tamron and the Sigma, to f8 and f16, I noticed some softness coming into the image. So on APS-C, you're likely to experience diffraction a lot sooner than you would on full frame. So these obviously we're on full frame at the moment, and I just want to demonstrate 6.3 versus f8. So if we just zoom in here into the word bottles there, we're at 200% there, and then we've got the same image here, and let's just go in there at 200% again, and let's compare. So that's 6.3 and that's f8. You can clearly see there's some better resolution there. So clearly f8 on full frame is doing really well. So let's move to another image. So here we have the Sigma 150 to 600 image of the bottle. I decided to do this outside so we can get a comparison. Then I got another one of the Tamron. I'll just double check that just to make sure it is the right one. So yeah, that's the Tamron image. And then here we've got the Canon 100 to 400 Mark II with the 1.4 extender on. That gives us 560mm versus 600 on the other two lenses. I felt this would be a good comparison for you guys who've always wondered about sharpness. Basically all three lenses compared against each other. Now I will do a separate comparison video. Wait for that, guys, because that is coming. But for the time being we're looking at the Sigma. But let's just have a look to see how they do compare. So that's the Sigma. That's the Tamron, and that's the Canon. So let's zoom in there a little bit. Have a look at 100%. So that's 100% of the Sigma. Again, we can see some nice pattern detail in the label here. It looks like little diamonds, if you can see that. So let's have a look, the same detail on the Tamron. Now if we go into 100% there, it does seem a tiny bit blurred out compared to the Sigma. So if we have a look at that, that's the Tamron, that's the Sigma. Clearly you can tell there's a slight difference. And then if we bring the Canon into it, let's just zoom in there. So that's 100%. It looks a tiny bit better than the Tamron. However, the Sigma is a very small amount sharper in my opinion. So let's zoom in there at 200%, give us a better vantage point. So let's have a look at 200% there and 200% there on the Sigma. So that's the Sigma at f8, that's the Tamron at f8, and this is the Canon 100-400 at f8 with the 1.4 extender on. So to my eye, it's the Sigma first, then it's the Canon, then it's the Tamron. That's what I think. You make your own mind up, guys, and let me know in the comments what you think. And for the final image, here we have a dead-on picture on the Sigma lens at 600mm at f8, and you can see how it blows out the rest of the background out, like, you might get a little bit more if you were to drop it down to f16. But let's just have a look at center sharpness where we focused on. Again, I just want to mention minuteness of focus. The focus plane is about 1 centimeter, which is absolutely minute, and it's nailed focus dead on where I was focusing, which was precisely here. So it's doing a good result. And I also think there's no need to calibrate the Sigma lens, because I think we're getting dead on focus here, which surprised me, because you don't get that on the Sigma 150 to 600 Sport, because you have to modify that using the Sigma dock, and you don't get that on the Tamron G2 lens either, because I think it was misfocused, probably by -1. So I think we're getting a good result from the Sigma lens. So as always, I'll give you a selection of these images with some music so you can have a look, and I'll shut up for now. But again, I think the Sigma is the better lens. It's very minor in terms of image quality, but when it comes to focus speed, it blows the Tamron out of the water. It might be a tiny bit better on, say, the 5D Mark III, 5D Mark IV, 7D Mark II, 90D. I tested it with the 90D and the 7D Mark II, and I found focus on the Sigma lens maybe 2% faster than the Tamron. But when it came to mirrorless cameras, such as my EOS R, Sigma was about 50% faster, which was a massive difference. So let's have a look at the images, and it's up to you to make your mind up what you think. Hope to see you in the next video. Please subscribe and like the video if it helped you out in any way, and check out the Tamron video I recently released as well. So I'll talk to you later. Have a nice day, and thank you for watching.